The empty seat. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council stretched before Commander Alexis Reed like an ocean of light and shadow. Massive crystalline pillars soared upward, disappearing into the luminous dome above where artificial constellations glimmered in perfect recreation of the galaxy's spiral arms. 2,000 representatives from across known space occupied their designated positions, their varied forms, some humanoid, others entirely alien, arranged in concentric rings around the central dais. Reed stood at the very back of the hall, a position befitting her status as a mere observer. As Earth's unofficial representative, she had no voice here, no vote, no power. Earth had no seat at the council, had never had one in the 5 centuries since humanity discovered faster-than-light travel and ventured beyond their solar system. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? A voice like rustling leaves came from beside her. Ambassador Threll, a being composed of what appeared to be woven plant matter, had materialized silently at her elbow. His kind, the Valish, had been among the first alien species to make unofficial contact with humans. "It would be more impressive if we were allowed to participate," Reed replied, keeping her voice neutral despite the frustration simmering beneath her professional demeanor. Threll's fibrous body shifted in what Reed had come to recognize as discomfort. "There are complexities, historical matters. You understand." But Reed didn't understand. No one did. That was precisely why she was here, at this gathering of the galaxy's most powerful species. 500 years of human space exploration, colonization, and diplomacy, and still Earth remained without representation in the body that governed interstellar law and trade. The council session opened with ceremonial announcements. Reed only half listened as various species reported on matters across the galaxy. Her attention was fixed on the physical arrangement of the hall, specifically on a single anomaly that had fascinated xenopolitical researchers for generations. In the third ring from the center, between the representatives of the methane-breathing Trovoi and the crystalline Halaxi, there was a gap. A space large enough for a delegation, yet always empty. In the official seating chart, it was simply unmarked, neither assigned nor labeled as vacant. According to legend, it was Earth's unclaimed seat. The Council will now address the petition from the Signary Collective regarding expanded mining rights in the Devari Belt, announced the Council mediator, an ancient member of the Sovreki species whose translucent body pulsed with colored light as it spoke. Reed felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to find an aide, a young human woman with the distinctive neural interface implants of the diplomatic corps. "Commander Reed," the aide whispered, "there's an urgent communication for you. Diplomatic channel, priority alpha." Reed nodded and followed the aide out of the Grand Hall into a secure communication chamber. The room was small but well appointed, with privacy field generators humming softly along the walls. The aide activated the secure terminal and departed, sealing the door behind her. The screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Helena Vostok, Reed's superior at Earth's Military Intelligence Division. "Commander Reed, your observation mission is being modified. Effective immediately." Reed straightened her posture. "What's happened, Admiral?" "Something that might explain why we've been kept out of the Council for 5 centuries. Vostok's expression was grim. 3 hours ago, our archaeological team on Mars uncovered a sealed chamber beneath the Olympus Mons colony. Pre-human, pre-everything we've known about Martian history. The technology is not like anything we've encountered before." Reed felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of technology?" "Some sort of data storage system. The translation eye has only managed to decipher fragments, but what we found..." The Admiral hesitated. "It appears to be a record of deliberations from the Galactic Council, dating back approximately 50,000 years. "That's impossible," Reed said. "The Council itself claims it was formed only 15,000 years ago, after the Kelnar-Voss War." "Exactly." Vostok's eyes hardened. "Someone is lying about the history of galactic governance, and it seems directly connected to Earth. The records make repeated reference to the quarantined world and the sleeping danger. We believe they're talking about Earth, Commander. Reed's mind raced. So Earth wasn't excluded from the Council. Earth was deliberately isolated, Vostok finished. And we need to know why. I'm transmitting new orders to your secure channel. You're to remain at the Council session, but activate Phase 2 of our contingency plan. Assemble your team, covertly. The Artemis is on standby in the shadow of Titan, ready to deploy when you give the signal. Understood, Admiral. And my cover? Maintain it. As far as the Council knows, you're still just an observer with no authority. That perception may be our greatest advantage. Vostok leaned closer to the screen. Be careful, Alexis. If the Council has been hiding something about Earth for thousands of years, they won't hesitate to eliminate anyone who threatens to expose it. The transmission ended, leaving Reed alone with the weight of this revelation. She took a moment to steady herself, then checked her neural implant for the incoming orders. The file appeared in her mind's eye, encrypted and secure. When she returned to the Grand Hall, the Council session was in full swing. A representative of the Corax Imperium was arguing passionately for military intervention in a border dispute, their forearms gesticulating in the species' characteristic manner. No one paid attention to the human observer, who slipped quietly back to her position at the rear of the hall. Reed studied the empty space in the third ring with new eyes. Not just an unclaimed seat, a deliberate exclusion, an ancient quarantine. But why? What about Earth could possibly frighten species capable of reshaping planets and harnessing the energy of stars? You seem troubled, Commander. Threll had noticed her return. Is everything all right? Reed offered a practiced smile. Just human politics, Ambassador. Nothing that would interest the Council. Ah, yes. Your species does seem to generate an unusual amount of internal conflict. The Valish diplomat's tone was light, but Reed detected something else beneath it. Concern. Or surveillance. It keeps us busy, she replied noncommittally, then pretended to focus on the proceedings. In reality, her mind was already planning her next moves. Her team was scattered across the massive space station that housed the Council, each member operating under various covers. She needed to gather them without attracting attention. As the session continued, Reed discreetly activated her subdermal communicator. All Odysseus elements. This is Athena. Implement Midnight Protocol. Rendezvous at Safe House Hephaestus in 6 hours. Verification. Solar 37 Epsilon. With the coded message sent, Reed settled in to wait. For 500 years, humanity had accepted their exclusion from galactic governance with diplomatic protests and political maneuvering. But if what Admiral Vostok suggested was true, if Earth had been deliberately quarantined for millennia, then the time for patience was over. Whatever secret had kept humanity isolated from the galactic community, Reed was determined to uncover it. And if necessary, she would force the Council to acknowledge Earth's rightful place among the stars. No matter what ancient fears they harbored, the empty seat would remain empty no longer. As the Council session adjourned for the day, Reed made her way through the crowded corridors of the massive station. The central spire of Concordia Station housed not only the Council chambers, but also countless diplomatic offices, research facilities, and commercial enterprises that served the needs of 2,000 species. Reed moved with purpose but without haste, careful not to draw attention. Her destination was the archives sector, a place where few diplomats bothered to visit. The publicly accessible archives contained only sanitized historical records, carefully curated by Council archivists to maintain the approved narrative of galactic history. But Reed wasn't interested in the public archives. She entered a dimly lit reference hall where holographic interfaces flickered in the air, attended by a handful of scholars from various species. No one looked up as she approached a terminal in the far corner, partially obscured by a decorative column. Reed placed her palm on the interface. To any observer, it would appear she was conducting routine research. In reality, her neural implant was executing a sophisticated infiltration program designed by Earth's best cyber warfare specialists to penetrate the Council's protected databases. The screen before her displayed harmless data about trade routes while her implant worked silently in the background. After 90 seconds, an eternity in digital terms, the program succeeded. A small icon pulsed at the edge of her vision, indicating success. Reed began searching for any reference to Earth in the sealed Council records. Most files remained inaccessible, protected by security measures beyond even her infiltration program. But she found fragments, cryptic references dating back thousands of years. One file caught her attention, Protocol 7 Alpha, regarding isolation of designation, Terra/Earth. The file itself was sealed, but its metadata indicated it had been accessed recently by a Council security administrator. They were still actively monitoring Earth's quarantine. This wasn't ancient history. This was current Council policy. Reed copied what data she could, then carefully erased traces of her intrusion. As she prepared to leave, a shadow fell across her terminal. "Humans rarely show interest in ancient history," said a melodious voice. "Most find it quite dull." Reed looked up to see a towering figure draped in shimmering robes that seemed to absorb light. A Meridian, one of the oldest species in the Council, known for their role as keepers of knowledge. "I find it fascinating," Reed replied evenly, "especially the parts that don't align with official records." The Meridian's faceless hood tilted slightly. "History is a complex tapestry, Commander Reed. Some threads are best left unwoven, for the safety of the entire garment." A chill ran down Reed's spine. The Meridian knew who she was, and seemed to be warning her. "I've always believed that understanding history helps us avoid repeating it," she said carefully. "Sometimes," the Meridian replied, "history is kept hidden precisely because repeating it would be catastrophic." The being's voice dropped to a whisper. "Earth was quarantined for a reason, Commander. For the good of all, including humanity." Before Reed could respond, the Meridian glided away, leaving her with a growing sense of unease. They knew. The Council knew she was investigating. Time was running short. Whatever secret lay behind Earth's isolation, Reed needed to discover it quickly, before the Council decided she was a threat that needed to be eliminated. She left the archives with a composed exterior that belied her racing thoughts. The puzzle was beginning to take shape, but the picture it formed was disturbing. Not just a political exclusion, but a quarantine. Not just an oversight, but a deliberate, coordinated effort spanning thousands of years. Earth wasn't just being denied a seat at the table. Earth was being contained. Whispers among stars. Safe House Hephaestus was not, strictly speaking, a house at all. It was a maintenance sector in Concordia Station's outer ring, a maze of utility corridors and environmental systems that kept the massive station habitable for thousands of different species. The perfect place to hide in plain sight. Few diplomats or officials ever ventured into these grimy utilitarian spaces. Commander Reed arrived precisely on schedule, having taken a circuitous route and changed her appearance twice along the way. She pressed her palm against an unremarkable maintenance panel, and a hidden scanner verified her identity. The panel slid aside, revealing a cramped room filled with communications equipment. 4 people were already waiting inside. Her team, handpicked for this mission long before anyone knew how critical it would become. Dr. Maya Chandra looked up from a holographic display, her dark eyes sharp with intelligence. Earth's foremost xenolinguist and cultural anthropologist, she had spent decades studying Council species and their interrelationships. "Commander," she acknowledged with a nod, "I've been analyzing the data fragments you extracted. It's troubling." Beside her stood Lieutenant Sato, a compact man with cybernetic enhancements visible along his temples, the markings of Special Forces neural integration. His expression was impassive, but his augmented eyes constantly scanned the room, alert for any threat. In the corner, a lanky man with a perpetual half-smile tinkered with a device. Julian Rice, their technology specialist, could hack almost any system in known space, usually while making inappropriate jokes. The final member of the team was Dr. Elena Volkov, a stern-faced xenobiologist who had been studying non-human physiology for 30 years. She looked up from her medical scanner with a frown. "You were followed," she stated flatly. Reed tensed. "How do you know?" "Because I'm detecting trace molecules consistent with meridian biochemistry," Volkov replied. "Their outer membrane sheds unique compounds. The concentration suggests one was near you within the past hour." "I had an encounter with a meridian in the archives," Reed confirmed. "It wasn't coincidental. They know what we're investigating." "Then we don't have much time," Chandler said, gesturing to the data displayed before her. "Based on what you found, I believe Earth has been under some form of quarantine protocol for at least 50,000 years, far longer than humanity has been a spacefaring species." Reed frowned. "How is that possible? Humans weren't even close to developing interstellar travel back then." "That's the question, isn't it?" Chandra brought up a series of symbols that Reed didn't recognize. These fragments suggest the protocol wasn't implemented because of what humans were doing, but because of what's on Earth itself, something that predates human civilization. Rice looked up from his device. "Like what, some ancient alien superweapon?" "The references are frustratingly vague," Chandra admitted. "They use terms that translate roughly as the sleeper, the buried threat, and the world eater. Nothing specific enough to identify what they feared." Lieutenant Seto spoke up, his voice calm and measured. "Whatever it was, they considered it dangerous enough to isolate an entire planet from galactic civilization for millennia. That suggests something of extraordinary power." Reed paced the small room, mind racing. "We need more information. The fragment I found mentioned Protocol 7 Alpha, but I couldn't access the full file." "I think I know where we might find it," Rice said, surprising everyone. When they all turned to look at him, he grinned. "What? I do more than just look pretty and bypass security systems, you know. I've been mapping Concordia's data architecture for months." He projected a 3D schematic of the station. "The Council maintains a secure archive on sublevel 42, totally isolated from the main network. Old school security checkpoint ahead," Seto murmured, his augmented vision detecting what the others couldn't yet see. "2 guards, Nishali species." Reed nodded. The Nishali were a reptilian species known for their heightened sensory perception and unwavering loyalty to the Council. Not ideal opponents, but not the worst they could face either. "Reyes, are we clear on the system?" she asked quietly. The tech specialist tapped his datapad. "Maintenance request is logged and approved. Just act like we belong here, and they should wave us through." Reed straightened her posture and adopted the slightly hunched gait characteristic of Tellurian workers. The others followed suit as they approached the checkpoint. The Nishali guards fixed them with unblinking yellow eyes as they presented their forged credentials. One guard examined the work order while the other observed them with clear suspicion. "Environmental systems in Sector 7 require standard maintenance," Reed explained, keeping her voice modulated to the gravelly tone of a Tellurian. The guard reviewing the work order flicked a forked tongue. "Unusual timing for maintenance." "Unusual readings require unusual timing," Volkov replied smoothly. "Would you prefer environmental failure during peak hours?" The guard hissed softly, but handed back their credentials. "Proceed. But be quick about it. This section houses sensitive materials." The team moved past the checkpoint, maintaining their disguises until they were out of sight around a corner. "That was too easy," Seto muttered. Reed agreed, but kept moving. "We'll worry about that later. Rise, where's the archive?" 300 meters ahead, then down a secondary corridor to the right. The physical storage facility should be behind a Class 5 security door. They proceeded cautiously, encountering no one else in the dim corridors. As Rice had indicated, they soon found themselves facing a massive door of some strange metallic alloy. unmarked except for a simple designation. Historical Repository Omega. This is it, Chandra whispered, a hint of awe in her voice. Some of the oldest records in the galaxy could be stored here. Can you get us in? Reed asked Reyes. He studied the security panel with a frown. It's an isolated system. I can't hack it remotely. He reached into his kit and removed a small device. But this might work. It's designed to mimic Sovriki neural patterns. They have highest clearance for the archives. As Reyes worked on the door, Reed felt a growing unease. The absence of additional security was concerning. For an archive this sensitive, she'd expected multiple layers of protection. Sato, keep watch, she ordered. Volkov, how long until our biochemical disguise wears off? Another hour, perhaps less with the station's environmental scrubbers working on the air. Reyes let out a soft hiss of triumph as the security panel flashed green. We're in. The massive door began to slide open with surprisingly little sound. Beyond lay a vast, dark chamber. As they stepped inside, lighting activated automatically, revealing row upon row of storage units, not the digital systems they'd expected, but physical objects. Crystal matrices, strange metallic cubes, and devices of unknown function lined the walls and filled the center of the room. These are ancient, Chandra breathed, examining the nearest storage unit. Some of these technologies predate Council formation by thousands of years. How do we find information about Earth? Reed asked, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of archives. Chandra pointed to symbols etched into the floor. A navigational system. These indicate categorical organization. We need to look for stellar cartography or planetary isolation protocols. The team split up, following Chandra's guidance as they searched the massive archive. Reed found herself in a section containing what appeared to be crystal recording devices of immense age. Each was labeled in a script she didn't recognize. Commander, Volkov called from across the chamber. I think I've found something. The team converged on her position. Volkov stood before a small alcove containing a single storage device, a black crystalline pyramid that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The symbols above the alcove matched those from the Mars discovery. This is it, Chandra confirmed, studying the markings. These symbols reference Protocol 7 Alpha and Earth's designation. Reyes examined the device cautiously. How do we access the data? I don't recognize this technology. It's precursor tech, Volkov said quietly. Pre-Council. My xenorchaeology colleagues have theorized about it, but I've never seen an intact specimen before. Can we take it with us? Reed asked. Sato shook his head. Too risky. It's likely monitored. Removing it would trigger alarms. Then we need to access it here, Reed decided. Chandra, any ideas? The xenolinguist studied the pyramid thoughtfully. Precursor technology was designed to respond to specific neural patterns. It's why their artifacts are so difficult to study. They only activate for compatible minds. Compatible how? Reed pressed. Their technology was attuned to their thought processes, Chandra explained. But some researchers believe certain human neural patterns bear surprising similarities to precursor configurations. It's a controversial theory, but Reed understood immediately. You think I might be able to activate it? It's possible. The fact that Earth was quarantined by the precursors might mean some connection exists. Or it could fry your brain, Reyes added helpfully. Just saying. Reed weighed the risks against their mission objectives. If the pyramid contained the truth about Earth's quarantine, it was worth the danger. I'll try, she said firmly. What do I need to do? Chandra guided her to position her hands on either side of the pyramid, careful not to touch it directly. Focus your thoughts on Earth, on the quarantine. Try to project a questioning intent. Reed closed her eyes, concentrating as instructed. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then a strange sensation began to build in her mind, a pressure that wasn't quite pain but was deeply uncomfortable. The pyramid began to glow with a faint internal light, pulsing in rhythm with Reed's heartbeat. "It's working," Chandra whispered. Images flooded Reed's mind. Fragmented, disjointed visions that made little sense. She saw Earth from orbit, but different somehow, the continents arranged in unfamiliar patterns. She saw massive structures that dwarfed mountains, built by beings that weren't human. And beneath those structures, something dormant, something vast and ancient and terrifying. Then she saw other worlds, 7 of them, scattered across the galaxy, each one resembling Earth in some crucial way, each one containing something buried, something sealed away. The pressure in her mind intensified, and Reed gasped with the effort of maintaining contact. Through the haze of pain, one clear thought emerged, not her own, but a message. The devourers must remain contained. The sleeping titans must never awaken. This world, and the 7 others, are their prisons. The indigenous species must never reach the stars, lest they disturb what lies beneath. With a cry, Reed broke contact, stumbling backward. Seto caught her before she fell. "What happened?" he demanded. "What did you see?" Reed struggled to organize her thoughts. Earth isn't just quarantined. It's a prison. There's something buried there, something ancient and powerful. And there are 7 other worlds like it. Chandra's eyes widened. The Council didn't create the quarantine. They're maintaining it, continuing a protocol established by the precursors. But what's imprisoned on Earth? Volkov asked. What could possibly be so dangerous? Before Reed could answer, alarms blared throughout the archive. Red emergency lighting flooded the chamber, and a voice echoed over hidden speakers in multiple languages. Security breach detected in Historical Repository Omega. All personnel initiate lockdown procedures. Intruders in Sector 7. "We've been compromised," Sato said grimly, drawing his weapon. "The guards must have checked our credentials." Reed's decision was immediate. "We have what we came for. Return to the safe house and prepare for emergency extraction. The Artemis can't dock at Concordia without Council authorization." Reyes reminded her as they moved quickly toward the exit. "Then we'll have to get creative," Reed replied. "Move out." As they raced from the archive, Reed's mind still reeled from what she'd learned. Earth, their home, the cradle of humanity, was actually a prison for something unfathomably ancient and dangerous. The Council hadn't excluded humanity out of prejudice or politics, but out of fear of what might happen if humans disturbed whatever lay buried beneath their feet. The implications were staggering. If the Council learned that Reed now possessed this knowledge, they would stop at nothing to silence her, to protect the galaxy from whatever threat Earth contained. But Reed had her own priorities. Whatever was buried on Earth had been dormant for thousands of years of human civilization. It could wait a little longer. What mattered now was securing humanity's rightful place among the stars. And that meant getting this information back to Admiral Vostok. As alarms continued to blare and the sound of approaching security forces echoed through the corridors, Reed led her team toward an uncertain escape, carrying a truth that could change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe forever.